Welcome back to another episode of BestowCast, where we're going to look into Ant-Man and Wasp 3, Quantumania. So topical, Paul, so topical. If you haven't listened to this podcast before, I've said where I just took in and watched a whole crap ton of stuff, try to get them juices flowing and add fodder for the podcast and for the YouTube channel to get things going. And Ant-Man is one of these things that I kind of got in there. I definitely wanted to get in and watch it because, I missed out on Black Panther 3, Wakanda Forever when it was in the theater. And, so I still want to kind of catch these things as they come out. Get to them before they're spoiled, because I spend so much time avoiding those spoiler bombs wherever I go. And now, I finally seen it. Now it's like, now I saw it. Now I can go out and read all this spoiler crap. Now that a couple of weeks have passed, I'm able to finally take in the negativity. But that's the internet in general. The internet is always negative about anything and everything. Everything sucks. One of the negative comments that I always see is people bitching about, why is it Ant-Man and Wasp when there is no Wasp? And, Hope doesn't do much. Oh, by the way, spoiler warnings. Hope doesn't do much in the film. She doesn't do terribly much. It should have just been Ant-Man. People do realize that Janet Van Dyne is the Wasp as well. Hank Pym is also the Ant-Man. They're both Ant-Man and Wasps. So to complain that Hope doesn't do much, she doesn't do much wasping, so therefore she doesn't deserve a name in the title. But it's like, well, yeah, but Janet does some stuff, and she's also the Wasp. Personally, I don't like doing the play-by-plays. I'm trying to stray away from doing that when it comes to doing these podcasts, where I don't really want to recount everything top to bottom, blow for blow, because it kind of, first of all, we only have like a half an hour to the show, so it's hard to break down a movie within, a 2-hour movie within 30 minutes, and then still provide any type of commentary or thoughts or anything else towards it. I just verbally describe what the movie is. So I'm going to assume that you've seen the movie for yourself. I'm assuming you've seen this movie, and you've already formed your own opinions, and you come to me, well, because you subscribe to me and you like hearing That Pantsless Producer yak for half an hour, and maybe your thoughts align with mine, or you want to fight me online for my beliefs or whatever. So what I want to do is I just want to provide an overview. Now sometimes to do an overview I might have to explain something a little bit, and the other issue is, of course, that this is something that's been on my QT for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. When did this first come out? This has been out for a while now, and I let it simmer, because it's like I spend some time before recording the podcast to try to collect my thoughts, because I shoot from the hip. I don't write anything down, so I just kind of wanted to let it simmer. But then when you add in the time factor, it's so far away, and I'm not going to go back to the movie theaters just to watch it. I probably should have just waited for this to come out on Blu-ray or DVD, but here we go. This is going to be the hacked up, choppy, old man memory of Ant-Man and Wasp. I guess I just wanted to hit like some of the talking points. I already hit the talking point of Hope not really being a part of it. A lot of complaints about what's his face? That's real good. Kang the Conqueror being the overall villain. And I guess there's a lot of comparison, which I think I'm going to do another episode where we just kind of talk about Wave 4 of the Marvel Universe, whereas this is supposed to kick off Wave 5. And I guess there was a lot of complaints and a lot of comparisons where it's like, Kang is not a suitable villain as a comparison to, say, Thanos. They built Thanos up super quick and everything, and it's like, well, did they really though? You had how many movies that came out before? You had the rumor of Thanos. You don't really, did he, I think he shows up in post credits of the Avengers. which, I guess a lot of people compare that. Oh, that's that's the building point of Thanos, and I don't really think that that's a building point. Like, I don't really consider post credit scenes canon. Even in the MCU, the post credit stuff seemed to be very, very tightly knit, and now like a lot of the post credit stuff seems to sometimes get to be reversed a little bit when they when the next film comes out or whatever. So I think it's more of like, it was supposed to be a tease of like, oh yeah, this is definitely where we're going with this, versus like any other solid comparison. So for people to compare this to Avengers and like, oh, well, you got Kang and then you got Thanos at in the post credits, I don't think that counts. I don't think that counts. And then you got what, almost 10 years where they built up Thanos. They built up the threat of Thanos. We don't even really get the Thanos story. Jeez, when did he? It just came to me because it's been a while since it's been a while since I've watched all these movies in sequence. I used to watch them quite frequently, and then this is the part where there's too many of them to actually sit down and dedicate a lot of time to like rewatch them. And it just came to me where it's like, well, wait a minute, Thanos gives the Tesseract. So Thanos is in the Avengers a little bit more than what I have memory. Where does he show up in the post credits? It's obviously not Avengers, because he shows up during Avengers. He gives Loki the Tesseract, right? Am I remembering that right? Oh my gosh. Do I have to pause the podcast and go back and watch this? Yeah, he gives him the Loki pokey stick. I guess that's my old senility kicking in, because yeah, that makes more sense. That he gave Loki the Tesseract, the Loki pokey stick, because the idea was that he was going to summon the he was going to summon the I forget what they're called. They were introduced in the Ultimate Comics. They were basically the stand-ins for the Skrulls, because Marvel couldn't use the Skrulls because of the Fox thing, and we had these guys which were supposed to be Skrulls, but then they were used as something different in the cinematic universe. I just made it even probably more confusing for the listeners. But hold on.
Please hold the line.
All right, here it was. It's the Chitauri. I don't know why I couldn't. Well, because of thinking of a lot of things. Yeah. So I guess Thanos is in it a little bit more, but he's not the villain. Loki's the villain. He just gives Loki the tools to fight the Avengers. He himself is, he doesn't get his hands dirty. I think maybe the scene that I'm thinking of where he shows up in his credits might be Age of Ultron. Isn't it? Where there's one in the damn movies where it's like, fine, I'll do this myself, and he's getting the gauntlets, and my gosh, damn it, Paul, and you wanted to make a podcast today. Anyway, the thing is that they're comparing Kang to Thanos, and my thing is that it took 10 years to flesh out who Thanos was. And I think that with Kang, he's a little bit more complex. He's a little bit more complex than he is as Thanos. But people are already ready to write him off, and whatever. You give us Thanos, and everything else is, you give us filet mignon, and everything from here on out is cheddar cheese, And I don't really like. I think the problem is that character, Kang the Conqueror, is so complex that it's going to take several movies to explain him. And I think that this is also the problematic thing of movies where we're all conditioned where the heroes beat the villain and that's it, and the villain's done, and he never comes back ever again. Batman kills the Joker, and the Joker's done. You never see him in a sequel, and we move on to the next thing. Whereas I think like the plan here with Kang is that he's going to be a constant threat, and when we're dealing with time travel and everything, he's just going to keep coming back. He's not going to go down easy. Everybody's like, oh, he went down like a puss. It was so easy to defeat. Were you supposed to be the big bad, and Ant-Man took him out like that? Spoilers. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think that he's more complex. I saw a thing today where I guess there was an Easter egg in Ant-Man in Wasp 3 Quantumania, where you see an icon that's related to Moon Knight. And I think that there was an announcement made where Rama Tut is going to be in Moon Knight season 2, which Rama Tut is one of the many identities of Kang the Conqueror. So he's a more complex villain that I don't think it's going to take a couple stories to flesh him out. And I don't really foresee where it's like, well, he went down like a puss. Yeah, that was an easy out. And it's like, is it though? Is it though? You've defeated one version of him. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. In which is it a future version? Is it a past? Where in the timeline is he from? I'm sure he's going to learn about that and never going to have. You're never going to be able to defeat him the same way twice. And even at the end of the movie, Scott's like, "Wait, did we even save the Earth?" He said that there was more. That there was more to come. Now, one of my gripes in this in Quantumania that I will address, and I actually haven't really seen much about this, is that between Ant-Man 2 and Ant-Man 3, Quantumania is like, or the Quantum Verse is like drastically different. Well, like, first of all, my first major complaint is that we had Janet Van Dyne, who lived in the Quantum Verse for 30 years, and never once talks about it whatsoever, never once warns everybody, hey, I used to, I helped out this guy named Kang the Conqueror, and then I was able to see his future, and he doesn't bring good things to the future, and he's a bad guy, you should stay away. None of that. As a matter of fact, I watched Ant-Man 2 after I watched Quantumania, and she's very hesitant, when Cassie invents this device that she's going to use to map out the quantum verse, her magical MacGuffin, and that's when, for some reason, Janet's really upset about it. What? You need to shut this down. Oh, you don't understand this and everything. And it's like, well, first of all, how the hell did Candace like invent this thing without her knowledge, all this time that they were working on this, and Janet didn't know a damn thing about it, didn't talk about the quantum verse, didn't warn her about any of the issues with the quantum verse. Well, you could flash back to Ant-Man 2, and she had no issues with that. The cutscene. Now here again, this is where I was saying, where you got a post-credit scene. Does it count anymore? Is it canon? Because they're going back and they're going into the quantum realm to learn more about it, and she's there assisting Hank. When they go and they send Scott into the quantum realm, she's there assisting Hank, and she has no qualms about the quantum realm. So it's just like this. It doesn't mix. It doesn't jive. It's very. And I guess the takeaway about it, away from it, is that the sacred timeline is messed up via Loki. So maybe there's just that kind of shift. That maybe it shifts that character in some direction. I don't know if there's a logical explanation to the plot hole. I want there to be one, but maybe there isn't. I mean, the other issue I have is where they go into the quantum verse, the quantum realm. It is drastically different in the second Ant-Man movie than it is the third movie, where it's all of a sudden Janet's had all these adventures and she did all these things and there's a city and everything. And granted, they explain it within the movie that time space moves differently. Different things happen. Like the ants. Spoilers: the ants end up going and hitting a time bubble and experience like several years all in a couple minutes, and are able to advance their population or advance their knowledge. But you didn't really see any of this when in Ant-Man 2. It's just kind of like they get into this. Hank gets into this space, this area that's just kind of bland and doesn't really look like anything, and she just happens to be there, and he brings her home. When apparently there was this revolution happening and all these peoples that she led, and she was a rebel and she had all these adventures that she can't be bothered to tell anybody about, and they were fighting against this big bad guy and everything. And it's just like, well, there's nothing in I'm trying to justify it. There's nothing in Ant-Man 2 that justifies any of this. She's just in the middle of blah land. She's in the middle of nowhere. She's in the middle of something that looks nice. It's like proof positive, where it's like, well, they didn't really think that far ahead, so it's not really. I can't even put words to it. It's not anything that dictates that it's this huge city and that she had this huge life that she was talking about. I mean, it could be. I mean, I guess the write-off is that she exiled herself, or that she knew that Hank and Scott were coming because she was communicating with Scott. She implanted herself into Scott's brain in at the end of Ant-Man 1. That was the whole premise of Ant-Man 2, was that she was able to communicate through Scott. So maybe she took herself away from all this stuff so that she wouldn't put Hank in trouble. I mean, I guess that could be the write-off, or that could be the send-off, is that, because she gives him the coordinates. So she probably gives him coordinates that would be far away from Kang or anything else. And if she took herself out of the equation, then maybe Kang could never escape. So I guess. But just her being silent for 30 years just is the big sticking point for me, where it's like, you don't talk about any of this, like none of this. I understand. In movie making, you just didn't think that far ahead, and you just didn't have that plotted out. So she just has to be silent. But this so rings of of Commander Holden from one of those three names in The Last Jedi, where like everything could be avoided if she would just talk to Poe. And understandably, it's like, in that movie you have to deal with spies and everything, so maybe she can't be so open about it. But he couldn't talk to Poe or find some way to communicate with him. I guess you're creating friction, you're creating drama. This just kind of rings the same way with me with Janet, where it's like, oh, she's had all these adventures, she knows all these people, she's basically led her own rebellion, and nobody knows about it. Cassie invents this machine, and it's like, we don't say anything until the moment we're ready to turn that machine on. And it's like, well, how long has she been working on that? And I assume that it was just her and Hank working on it. But do you think that if they were working with the quantum realm, dealing with the quantum realm, that would be something that would be a little bit more in the forefront, especially for her. And again, it's an inverse of how she was in the other one, where she wanted Scott to explore the quantum verse, and how the quantum verse was basically utilized to, save everybody in the Avengers movies in Endgame. But yeah, I spent a lot of time hung up on this one facet. It's just this one, and it's this one facet that just kind of it really stuck out for me, because it's like, I'm like, I need to take notes because I'm going to do a podcast, and I need to mentally store all this stuff. And then another part of me is like, shut up, Paul. Just enjoy the damn movie. You're here. You paid your money. Enjoy the movie and deal with that part later. So the analytical part of me was just kept picking up on that, where it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Well. So since I've taken the stance on this episode that I'm just going to do nothing but bitch about Quantumania, I might as well bitch about MODOK. Again, I tried to avoid spoilers, but MODOK was spoiled to me that, he would make an appearance in this movie. But they've been talking about MODOK forever. I mean, hell, Peter Dinklage was supposed to play MODOK in Endgame at one point in time, and then he didn't. He played a different character. He played one of the dwarves, one of the dwarves from Asgard. So it's like, that was kind of a well, maybe it's not going to happen. More closer and closer, I forget about it, and then I'll closer to the movie's release. It's like, MODOK's in the trailer. I think I skipped the trailer. I didn't even watch the trailer. I think the first time I saw the damn trailer was when I went to see Avatar, because I saw Avatar the day before I saw Quantumania. So I got the Quantumania trailer, and I was kind of pissed because it was like, Marvel's known to spoil the shit out of this. Although Marvel's been known to edit the trailer around and change some aspects, but surprisingly, the trailer was much different in tone. The trailer was more bleak than what the movie actually came out to be. I don't know why they made MODOK a throwaway character again. I guess it's the same vein of like, I'm surprised we're going to get Starro at all. So Starro might as well be in Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad, because we're never going to get a Starro. They're never going to treat him right. So I guess it's kind of the same deal. Although I guess I doing some looking into this after the fact that MODOK was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Whether or not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon, there is a version of MODOK in there, and they took it pretty seriously. For it to be what's his face from the first Ant-Man, it's like, okay, lame. And they just went the whole silly route of it. They just kind of, they Thor and Love and Thundered it. Is that can that be a phrase now? They Love and Thundered this shit. They took something and just made it freaking wonky and goofy. I mean, I guess there's always, MODOK is I guess in the comics, there was always 3 versions of MODOK. In the comics, they took it serious at first, and then they made him a buffoon and a clown and kind of a comedy character. And then they took it back, and then they made him a buffoon again. So it depends on who's writing MODOK. I mean, and MODOK is kind of a weird entity to even appear in a cinematic universe. I'm actually surprised he even made it at all, because he's just a big head in a chair. And I think when my kids were growing up, they used to watch Superhero Squad. And MODOK was always a clown. But then, Superhero Squad, they're all buffoons and clowns. Yeah, I don't know. And I just couldn't get away from this is just a big CG. This guy, he must have had a fun recording session where they just had a camera strapped to his face, and it's like, oh, we're gonna blow this up and put it on a CG monstrosity. I don't know. I want to hate MODOK, but I want to love MODOK too, because it's like, just don't be a dick. There's some fun moments. There's some moments where he's attacking Hank, and he's got the upper hand, and then he just disappears for no reason. It's just that's a reoccurring trope. There's something else. I was watching Lock and Key, and they frequently do that in that series too, where they've got the good guys pinned down, and then they just disappear. Okay, no explanation. They're just gone. Goodbye. And I guess a final complaint is the same complaint that I have with Wakanda Forever. It doesn't matter if it was projected up on the screen or if I'm watching it on a television. I'm sure Wakanda Forever was amplified that it was on a much smaller screen. But Marvel does this god darn thing where let's just shoot mud. It's here's a fight scene in the dark. Here we go. We've got the quantum realm, which has all these pretty aurora borealis type lighting, and everything's all sparkly and shiny, and we're gonna shoot fight scenes in the dullest area possible. Again, it's something I've read where they do that on purpose, because it has to do with the fact that they want to digitally manipulate it. So it has to be evenly lit the entire time. And for it to be like that, it's always dark. It's always going to be darker than normal instead of anything that's vibrant, because they just want that ability to change everything, change it whenever. I think even this movie, I think, didn't they changed the ending 30 days before its release. They changed an aspect of it, and I don't know. Enough of the bitching. Now that we're in the final minutes of the show, let's finally talk about the good things. I really like Cassie. A lot of hate for Cassie. Another Mary Sue. Oh no, she just automatically can do everything. Oh, she's a Mary Sue. I don't get that. I mean, how is she a Mary Sue? She's got a lineage of 2 superheroes next to her, who are her dad and her stepmom. Is Hope and Scott married? I don't recall. Pseudo stepmom. I assume they're married. They're married. She's got both sides of that. She's descended from, she's got Pym Tech. She's got Janet Van Dyne. How is she not going to be able to do any of this stuff and be able to be quick? add it. Like that stuff like annoys the piss out of me. Where it's like, oh, it's a female character and therefore she's automatically a Mary Sue. Oh, I don't see any of the hero characters doing that, even though all the hero characters do that. They're all like that as well. All right, and honestly, if we're going to go from a real world perspective, I'd rather them fast track Cassie so that she knows her ability, she already has a grasp on it, than spending 2 hours of her learning the thing. We have to retell the first movie, and we have to retell the second movie when Hope had to learn this. Oh, now Cassie has to learn this, and we're going to spend 2 hours of her learning the powers. That's fine. I'm okay with fast tracking that, because it's like, I don't want an origin story for Cassie. I just want a story, and I want to get into that story. Let's just move on. I mean, there were some negatives about like She-Hulk, and it's the same way, and it's just like, I'd rather it be her. She knows how to control the power within like the first episode. That's fine. I don't want to spend 9 episodes or whatever it was her learning how to Hulk out. And I feel the same way when it comes to Cassidy, or Stature, I guess is her superhero name. I don't think they ever refer to her as Stature, but yeah, that's a positive. I really like that. The ending was kind of wonky. I don't know how to feel about the ending. I heard a lot of buzz going into it where it's like, well, this is a movie where Ant-Man has to die. Scott has to die in order to show the power of Scott, or show the power of Kang rather. And they end where Scott's stuck in the quantum realm. And I guess the original ending was that's how it was supposed to be, that he was there to live 30 years like Janet. But it made no sense. They had already expressed that they have technology to get to the quantum realm throughout several of the damn movies, including Endgame. So it didn't make sense where he was just kind of stuck there. I kind of figured that they would come get him, whether it was sooner or then later. The whole complaint about Hope being kind of a worthless character, she's not as effective as, it seems to hinge more on the relationship between Scott and Cassie. So I think like Hope kind of gets sacrificed. Her story kind of gets sacrificed in the storyline. But like I said, she's not the only Wasp. So Janet kind of gets a little bit more time to shine. And we get the relationship between Scott and Cassie. That was fine. I was okay with that. I really wish I had a list of all the movies that were up for this. I mean, I don't know if this is Wave 5 or Wave 4. Because a lot of the way the talk is like, oh, well, this is the end of Wave 4. A lot of the talk is sometimes it says this is the start of Wave 5. This is the kickoff to Wave 5. So I don't know which it is. As of this recording, I guess it's tanking. I guess it's considered a bad Marvel film. I know, like, when I went to go to the theater, this was the worst film since Eternals. No, not at all. This is not the worst film in comparison to Eternals. Worst film in Wave 4. No, we have Love and Thunder to kind of thank for that. I think that this movie has a lot to add to the overall Wave 5 and going forward. I don't know. I mean, I didn't hate it, but then again, I'm the person that goes and tries to enjoy the shit out of everything and not be a cynical bastard. I say after I had spent almost 30 minutes doing nothing but bitch and complain about this movie. But I think I think the positives add up more so than the negatives. I don't really like some of the negative reviews that I've been ingesting. I don't really quite 100% understand where they're coming from, but that's me, that's it. And that's all the time that I have. So I hope that you enjoyed this all over the place rant about Quantumania, and I will catch you the next time I catch you. Talk to you later. Have a good one.